So Rishi Sunak, he's over the crucial 100 mark. What's the plan to build from here?
Well, clearly, we're going to be spending the next few days talking to colleagues and trying to persuade colleagues of the case that Rishi Sunak is the candidate with the economic plan that's credible, well thought out, to make sure we get control of inflation and get growth going, and then taxes when we can afford to do so, but also that he's the one who can win a general election. You know, the polling all shows he's best placed to beat Labour, and that, of course, is critical in the national interest as well. So when it comes to answering the question, who would be the next Prime Minister, the answer is Rishi Sunak.
But all of the policy that you've just talked about, including cutting taxes when it's the right time, getting inflation under control, those are things that he was saying when he was in the Treasury, in the Cabinet. So is that going to be enough? He's essentially the continuity candidate at a time when your party is saying it wants change.
No, he's the credibility candidate, if you like. He's the candidate who has got the plan that can actually deliver in tough economic times. You know, these are difficult times. We've got to make sure inflation, which has come from essentially externally, the big rise in energy prices because of the war, the problems that China has still got pursuing a zero COVID strategy, leading to inflation here. We've got to make sure that doesn't get entrenched by following policies that actually make it worse, not better. And Rishi's been pursuing that with a plan for tax cuts when they are affordable. So I back that plan, and I back the man with the plan.
But where's the difference? Because it sounds very much like business as usual.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. I would say that it's a credible plan. What you'll get from Rishi Sunak is that delivered both with charisma and with the seriousness of purpose that I think he demonstrates. He's an incredibly high integrity individual. I've worked very, very closely with him during the COVID pandemic. And frankly, when I came to make the choice of who to vote for out of the then 11 candidates at the start of this thing, what happened was I was asked the question, who would be the best Prime Minister, Matt? And I said Rishi without a blink. And that's why I'm voting for him.
I want to ask you about integrity, because the Prime Minister and Rishi Sunak have both been fined over COVID. You were also caught out during the COVID regulations. It damaged your career. It's potentially ended the Prime Minister's. How can Rishi Sunak avoid the same fate?
Well, I think everybody's seen the photographs of that event, and Rishi turned up to a meeting, and then there was an event that happened that I understand he didn't know about in advance. What matters is the big picture, you know, the character of the individual. You know, he comes from a relatively modest background, grew up in the Sunak pharmacy, and he's been very successful. And I know him very well personally, and he is a man of deep integrity. And I know he's got what it takes. If you think about it, given what he's faced, especially during COVID as Chancellor of the Exchequer, he's had more preparation for the huge challenges of the role of Prime Minister than almost anybody else.
Do you think he's in touch with the public, though? Do you think he understands how it feels to have no money in your bank account, to be running on empty, to be having to find cash to put in your meter? Do you think he gets what that feels like?
Yeah, I do, because he comes from a very normal background.
Well, I think he's very wealthy. That's not particularly normal.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, I said he comes from a normal background, and the thing is that in the Conservative Party, we admire aspiration. We admire people who get themselves a good education through merit, have a successful business career, and frankly, who you fall in love with, and that isn't a matter for politics. Right? So that's actually a good thing that somebody from a relatively modest background, I'm not saying, penury, relatively modest, who grew up in a pharmacy, watching his mum run the pharmacy, making sure that ends meet, making sure that the small business balanced the books. He now is in a position that, he's been very successful in life. I admire that, and now he's in a position as the best candidate to be Prime Minister.
Some of your critics have said that the campaign is a little bit staid, perhaps a little bit boring. Does Rishi Sunak excite you?
But yeah, I think he's got charisma, and what matters is who's got what it takes to take the country through difficult times, and then to win a general election. Yeah, you've seen him. You know, he's got experience of the big debates as well. He stood in for Boris, remember, in the general election debates. You know, so Rishi's done prime time.
And just finally, what top job has he offered you in the cabinet?
I haven't had a conversation about that at all. I haven't. I've told you already. I literally was asked the question, who would be the best Prime Minister? And I immediately said Rishi, and I was told, well, that's who you'd better back then.
But you wouldn't turn one down?
Well, I'm not in any hurry, but I haven't had that conversation. That's not what this is about. This is about making sure that we get the best Prime Minister who will then assemble a team. And I think, you know, the people who tend to win these contests tend to be the people who don't make offers, because they're the confident ones who, when they win, can then put together the team that is best suited to tackling the challenges that the country faces.